You've not all fallen asleep just yet. It is warm, but don't worry. It's not siesta time yet, guys. Come on.
Still
not
early.
Just yet.
Still early. Oh, no, it's getting late. It's siesta time. No, not quite yet.
I don't know what time siesta is yet. All I know is that I don't get a chance to get one.
That's true. We need a siesta room.
They just leave me stood here. Into picks and bans we go. In the first two bans, you'll see Trifecta with the first pick, first ban. They'll take out Susano, and in response, Energy take away Fafnir.
Susano still just, no one's allowed to play this god, it seems. Just too mobile, too much damage, too much CC. No team seems to feel comfortable. And Trifecta, if they don't want to first pick it, I love that ban. If Sino wants to go a different direction, keep it away from adapting.
So Terra banned out by Trifecta as well. And that means that two big supports are limited in the god pools. And I was always going to be interested about where Morrigan was going to land. And we mentioned it, Energy haven't really played that much Morrigan.
No, it seems to be the only team in Europe, at least on the top end, that haven't picked it consistently. But Trifecta gonna first pick the Soul. I really thought that was gonna be Serket in that instance. I mean, Serket is open and has been permabanned pretty often, but instead keeping that Soul out of Yemen's hands.
I was thinking more about Osiris. That's what I was considering.
Yeah.
That was available. Bologna too is still on the table. And I guess that's one of the reasons why they had the option of taking Osiris or Bologna, leave the other one available. But the Soul pick is still flexible for Trifecta.
Yeah, I really think that's gonna be for Snoopy, but Heroin could obviously play it as well. Have to wait and see exactly where they want to go with that side of the draft. It got to be a Bologna here, right? But it's going to be Naja in that jungle for Sinosure. Love this pick. Against the Geb, maybe a little bit less. Obviously, Geb really shuts down a lot of what Naja excels at, which is CC chain into the ultimate. And then the Odin here for Kiki. So we saw Trifecta go with this strat a little bit previously, and that's the Odin pick. Kiki just kind of taking a page out of the console scene, picking the Odin, even when the cage isn't necessarily the biggest boon for a team, but just likes the early pressure it gives you.
Kamazots was available, and Energy will take that for potentially adapting in the jungle here. Obviously, Sol is flexible still as it stands. With the Odin pick, though, it's definitely interesting to see how that's going to play out. If it is going to be Kiki playing that, we more than likely expect that.
Yeah, I can't imagine that's going to be Yannick. He really likes the more traditional Guardian CC chain.
Up against the Geb in the dual lane, it's pretty strong in the 3v3s too. The ring denying Geb the ability to escape.
That's true, but it could just be an early Phantom for Raffer, and then Energy doesn't have to worry about that cage, at least basically every other one. I like the Bologna ban from Energy, keeping that away just in case that is Odin in the support role, covering their bases in that sort of instance. And then keeping Hu Yi out of Emilito's hands is always a good idea.
Well, it's back over then to Energy for their next ban. And they've already taken away Bologna, so they don't believe that Odin is solo right now. By taking away the Bologna, that clearly is the standpoint.
Though, I mean, Bologna's support can be a thing. Big Man Ting's played it, I believe, for Enix, so maybe just covering their bases overall. Bologna is a really strong pick. I think that Energy just wanted to guarantee that they weren't going to see that against them.
Yeah, and if the Odin does go solo, it's still fine anyway, but it's just a safety ban just in case there is a little bit of shenanigans going on that they don't know about. Well, now it's going to be a long, hard fit for Trifecta about where they want to go to next. Obviously, they do get a lot of bank time, as you can see, ticking away at the top of the screen to have a little nice long think about what they want to do with this next ban.
New picks and ban screen is dope.
I'm still learning now. I'm too excited. I'm looking in all directions. Things are moving everywhere.
It's real nice. I like the fact that we get to see that bank time and exactly how much time each team has ready to go in case they need a little bit of extra to try and figure out their picks and bans. If I'm Energy here, I'm probably banning away something that I think Heroin will be playing, just because I assume that Soul is going to be going to Snoopy because of how much he's played it. But Ganesh is also is a very solid, safe ban.
And I think Ganesh is definitely a solid pickup to take away because obviously if you're the Odin ring, you're trapped in the Odin ring first of all, then you're silenced, so you can't do anything within the Odin ring to escape it either. So you're just going to be trapped and beat down by Soul's damage first of all.
Plus you could just lay down that Dharmic pillar across the middle of the Odin ring, and then your available space, which is already very small, is then cut in half in terms of where you're going to be juking around.
Well,
no Kernanos ban here. It's going to be the Kronos instead. So I was interested to see where Trifecta was going to go. Do they want to make sure that Celtic Hunter was going to stay out of the hands of Energy? Instead, they decided to give that up, potentially, making sure that Kronos isn't picked.
And that Kronos can be flexible for Energy, as we've seen before. But also, the matchup for Kronos against Sol isn't the most terrible in the world.
That's true. I mean, just can really rewind all that burst damage very quickly and take that all-in sort of damage. Can also keep up with that additional movement speed that Sol has.
Well, Yamin definitely going to be taking that toss to the mid lane here. So the 3v3 that Energy have drafted here from the support, jungler, and mid specifically, Geb, Kamazot's tough. A lot of damage, not a lot of control, though.
I think it's enough. I mean, Cataclysm and Knockup are both such good CCs out of Geb. And then, of course, the stun out of Thoth, always good to set up for your Camazotz. Look, Yemen is a mechanical god. He doesn't need setup. He's going to hit it regardless. I'm not worried.
I really have a feeling that Sobek is for solo lane. And Moose and Cobb?
No way.
Is that a lock-in? I don't know that it picks a ban screen, Aggro. I don't know if that's actually locked in.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't even know we loaded a Moose and Cobb into the new picks and ban screen.
It is confirmed. That isn't a Moose and Cobb lock-in.
Wow, so Snoopy's played it before. Snoopy's played it before.
If in doubt, Emelito goes Neath.
All right, I can just...
You're going to throw some shenanigans at me? I'll play Neath.
Nice and safe. No Kernanos. I bet you that's what Trifecta expected coming out of NRG. Neath, the character that hasn't seen a lot of play as of late, but certainly is going to help that Thoth in the mid lane stay safe in case Trifecta wants to play aggressive there.
Something does tell me though, Aggro, that Sobek is in the solo lane. I don't know why, I just feel that's Kiki on that Sobek up against the Osiris, because I don't think the Odin versus Osiris matchup is specifically very good for Odin, considering Osiris can just walk out of the ring.
And Ionic does like to play the warrior supports. I mean, we saw him play Hercules support quite a bit at the beginning of Season 4, so it wouldn't surprise me too much. And I think that Kiki is really developed into this team fighting solo laner that has some trouble in lane at times, and if you could just give him the Sobek and say, look, you're losing lane anyways, let's just get you to the team fighting stage where you can be effective there. As long as Kiki plays safe enough, there's no way Osiris can kill him just because of the innate tankiness that that Guardian has.
Obviously, in the old days with Odin too, you would normally see a lot of the mid laners look for escapability options, but NRG, not really too scared of that. They picked Toth into the Odin. Toth's not going to be the best at escaping, but they rely on their ability to play around that ring.
Really surprised it wasn't on her. I feel like on her would have been really difficult for Trifecta to deal with. You wanted to get something out of the Odin cage. That's why I think we did not see the Kernanos in that last pick selection. You needed something with a leap, but on her is so good at punishing those immobile gods, but Amu's and Cobb also great at punishing gods that want to box him because he's so good at boxing. So instead, Emelito says, I'm just going to play safe in this lane, throw my ultimate elsewhere. Snoopy can do whatever he wants to do on this B. We'll deal with him later.
Start the game, just keeping on the support options and where they've started here. Yamin looked like he went for starter item at the start with boots potentially, or even tiny trinket. Switched that up, and he's going to actually rush a Book of Toth here in that mid lane.
This is exactly what we saw from Zeros in the last set. I guess they like this third item slot, Book of Thoth, because it looks weird. I don't know.
Nice little bit of pressure coming out from NRG Esports into the left-hand side jungle, trying to deny Snoopy and Ionic, going for the early buff take.
And Emelito wants to fight right now because he went full Ninja Tab to start it off. No starter item, no extra pots. He's just got that Ninja Tab, so he's going to be stronger than everyone else on the map at this stage.
And now we're going to see a 1 versus 1 in regards to Emelito going to take on the purple buff, as Rafa going to make sure Snoopy can't continue to do work on the red. So the baby camps at the red and purple specifically are split evenly between Trifecta and NRG on the left-hand side.
On the right side, it's an even invade for Cynosure and Heroin. On the right, no speed buff invade quite yet from Dimmy, not able to get that by himself.
No, he just went into the baby camps and then went to the lane so he can hit that level 2. That was the real key for him there. Just worried about the pressure because he didn't have vision on where the mid laner was or the jungler. Why is this? Rafa looking for steals again, and Rafa will not get away with it this time. He's very good at that for the most part. That's why he likes the Geb choice.
Yeah, exactly. Just easy knockup confirmed. That time didn't go his way though, but Emelito already with a pretty substantial lead in terms of just XP. Got the large part of that wave, whereas Snoopy did not because he was there trying to secure that purple.
Yeah, definitely a solid start of Trifecta here, though. They're up only 200 gold as it stands right now, but the invade of the jungle is very, very important. Try and deny adapting and Yamin, getting the focus going of the rotations, because NRG is so very good at making sure they always split those camps.
And look, Osiris has been top pick, top ban, all summer split long for a reason. He's incredibly good when he gets ahead, but there's a reason that he has a sub 50% win rate in the SPL, and a large part of that is if you can set him behind early on, deciding to really focus out that lane. It's very difficult to do because of how good Osiris is in the early game, but if you can successfully shut down Osiris early on, it is very difficult for him to make an impact in the later stages.
Well, you can also see Rafa did start off with that Phantom here for himself as well, and his team. Not only is the Phantom good against the ring, it is good against knockups as well.
True.
Which is one thing Sobek does have a lot of.
That's true. He's going to be able to get that knockup immunity plus that 40% crowd control reduction, making sure that you aren't CC chained for quite as long. But a lot of that, I mean, they're not looking at Ymir freeze or Terra stun, things like that that are really affected by that CCR. The knockup's going to do the same duration no matter what. In the slows, you'll get out of the slows a little bit faster from things like Heroin and Cynosure, but that's not as big of a deal.
So what's the plan for NRG here up against this Amusin card from Snoopy? Because when I'm looking at that right now, I'm expecting Emilito's there just to farm out the wave and stay safe and survive the laning phase. Are they just going to let him just farm up, or are they going to look for pressure with rotations?
I think they've got a couple options. They can just start to camp that lane, and good luck getting away from a Camazotz as Amusin Cobb, but you could also just see NRG ignore that, kind of trust Emilito to handle that matchup regardless, and then come and really camp this right side of the map, put Kiki behind, get Dimmy a big lead, use that Neath ultimate where Neath doesn't need to be to make the big impact.
I'm talking about Kiki in that solo lane. Playing the Odin, I expected it could have been the So back there, but he did go with the Odin pick. The pressure he's actually got in the lane for the time being has really come down to the pressure the mid laner and jungler got in the jungle of energies, allowing him to just farm safely.
Exactly. Both buffs went Trifecta's way on that top right side. We're able to get the 2 successful invades. Now they're trying to go for number 3. Cynossure's here on time. And look at where Adapting is. He's already given that speed buff up.
Oh,
do not want to fight Naja.
Snoopy could be in a bit of trouble here because he's going to run into Adapting at the red buff on the left-hand side of the map. And obviously, with him playing Amusin Cobb, his escapes are limited. And the Adapting king of the jungle will make sure the B is no more.
If you're new to the SMITE Pro scene and you're saying, oh, I love Amusin Cobb, why doesn't anyone pick him all the time? That is the reason you don't pick Amusin Cobb all the time. What he can do is great. Great at boxing, great at pushing down towers and objectives, but he's incredibly immobile. The purification beads just didn't matter. Adapting chased him down.
But that kill was just the right place at the right time. There was no call from Trifecta in the mid lane of seeing Adapting's rotation, and at the same time, Snoopy's just walking over for his red buff, wanting to go and pick it up for himself. Bad news bears, though, the rotation doesn't come from his team, and he gets picked up.
And that's the whole reason that I think Trifecta wanted to pick on Amusin Cobb, is because right now the meta is very leave the hunters alone. They can solo red, they can solo purple, let them do whatever they want. We'll pick them up at 20 minutes and see where they are, but not for Adapting. He knew that he needed to be there.
Well, if you like it, put a ring on it. It says Kiki, Dimmy to the sky, thanks to Cynosure rotating in. Dimmy should be able to get away potentially. The ring toss slows him down a bit, and Kiki's not got enough mana to follow up. Dimmy will survive, and the EU crowd gave a nice little clap about that one.
Just barely. That Judgment Tether was huge there, giving Dimmy that extra little bit of damage mitigation. That Naja ultimate just didn't seem to do a whole lot of damage.
Didn't seem to do much at all, but at the same time, it's in the early game still, so it's not going to do as much. And against the Cyrus, too, not the easiest target in the world to bring down.
And Sino's timing on the back meant that he could only get boots 2, couldn't finish off the Warrior Tab-Eye. If that's a completed Warrior Tab-Eye, Dimmy's dead every which way. But because Cynosure wanted to be there for the invade on the enemy speed buff, had to time his back a little bit quicker and couldn't get there in time with the extra damage.
Well, the good news for the duo lane, so if we look at the Hunter role, I should say, in the duo lane right now, Neath has managed to catch up a little bit. Emilito's done a good job just keeping pace with Snoopy. And it does come down to that little gank that we've got the first blood onto Snoopy that's kind of slowed down the pace of that lane in favor of the Amusin Cobb.
Absolutely. Now Emilito's up about 300 gold, and Amusin Cobb's going to be able to take fights basically down about 800 to 1,000 gold because of just how good he is in that 1v1 scenario. But if Adapting's there that often, you can't really take those one-on-ones.
Cataclysm out early from Raph, and Snoopy's dead again. Beads were still on cooldown, and NRG knew that for sure as they commit for a nice, easy, free pickup once again on AMC.
High risk, high reward. And right now we're seeing the risk part of the Amusin Cobb pick. Look, we saw this roster pick up the AMC previously and have a ton of success with it. In those games, Snoopy was all by himself. This time he's not.
We saw Snoopy die again, and we'll see Dimmy escape again over on the right-hand side. So it's rinse, repeat 2 games in a row.
That's exactly what NRG wants on both ends, right? Dimmy's able to get away, and Snoopy is not. This time around, Adapting is able to secure his own speed buff, so that lead that Cynosure had that was very, very slight, now probably not going to last much longer. In fact, yeah, it's Adapting with the slight XP lead. Well,
speed buff goes the way of NRG this time for Adapting as he gets slashed by Cynosure in the backline. Sorry, I should say Dimmy gets slashed by him. But now, with the support from Ionic turning up, plucking Rafa into trouble. No Cataclysm available for the young lad from England. But now the ultimate is there from Cynosure. Rafa should fall, but NRG are around to try and turn it.
Big heal, though, from Sidosure. Adapting, falling pretty low. Up into the bat out of hell. Sido one shot, and Adapting's going to clean him up.
But I don't think he's going to get away, as Kiki will make sure he pays the price. 2 for 1 in favor of Trifecta inside of NRG's jungle.
That's a good look for Trifecta. Emilito makes his rotation all the way over here to try and help out. That's why you pick Neath, Emilito, so you don't have to come all the way over here to make the impact, but he's making sure that his team is going to be able to safely farm. But this is big for Snoopy because he just got a free wave on left. He invaded that red buff successfully. He's going to get another free wave that Emilito will miss the majority of unless Raffer's able to hold that. So Snoopy's going to get some much-needed farm because of Emilito's rotation.
Well, Emilito did just return back to base, however, did pick up the Transcendence now, so that is going to be stacking away. So his power is going to increase quite nicely, as Snoopy's only finished the Warrior Tabby so far.
This is a big, big power lead for Emilito right now. Bluestone Pendant helps Snoopy out, yes, but an entire Transcendence over your opposition while they only have a Bluestone is massive. And we saw just how much damage Emilito was able to do to Snoopy with that root combination. I mean, Neath, you may not have seen her recently in the Pro League, but never forget that Spirit Arrow really, really hurts, basically at all stages of the game.
That's designed to do that, really. It's a big power spike that she has for herself. I'm just looking at, once again, at Rafa's build, keeping an eye on the build options. We've seen him do this before, but 3 starters in a row, Watchers into Bombers, and then Swift Wing for the extra mobility. We don't see Swift Wing too much, but Rafa seems to like it.
Solo laners seem to like the Swift Wing. Supports basically only Raffer that comes off the top of the head in terms of who's building that in the support role. Gives you extra movement speed, gives you extra HP, which is very important for that role, of course. But also, I mean, with the rollout, Raffer's gonna be able to back and get back to lane incredibly quickly with that Swift Wing.
And the funny thing about support builds right now is the fact that there's not been too much competitive play since the changes towards the aura items. So everyone's still trying to find their feet of who's got the right idea behind these aura item changes. Do we stick with the auras? Do we switch things up? It looks like we're going to see Ionic heading towards the height of the Urchin here, whereas Rafa goes for his triple starters. It's very interesting to see the differences between the 2 different supports.
Yeah, I wonder what Raffer's going to go after the boots. We saw a couple of the supports earlier on between Dignitas and Black Dragons. They were going Jade Emperor's Crown very early on, trying to reduce the physical power of the enemy team, and I think that would be an excellent pickup here for Ionic in particular, trying to make sure that Emilito isn't going to do too much.
Well, Emilito just got stung in the face by Snoopy, trying to chase him down was Snoopy, but the minion wave comes to the rescue, buys Emilito enough time to juke into it to avoid some damage, and then finally get the backflip off after the cripple fails.
That you could already see that Snoopy, if he's able to take those 1v1s, he's going to end up getting the better end. Soon that Stinger is going to do enough damage to basically guarantee a one-shot potential for him. Love Emilito holding the beads, though, not using the beads to purify away the cripple and use the backflip. Knew exactly how much damage he could take and knew that he'd be okay.
And you can see what NRG's game plan seems to have been. Focus Snoopy a little bit more. Let Dimmy be Dimmy. He'll deal with being ganked consistently. He'll deal with being behind in levels, even though he's playing an Osiris here. But it's working out okay for NRG because they're winning on other areas of the map.
Mid lane, there's been very little action there. Yemens have been able to get away with that pretty greedy start of that Soul Trap. No problems there. Look how much damage he's doing already. Sinosure takes a big chunk.
And that chunk that just hit Sinosure, I think just stopped Trifecta looking towards that red buff, as Yamin did look for the big ultimate. There's an ultimate out from the World Weaver from Emilito. Sinosure ults towards Yamin for safety. That's not your teammate, that's an enemy. And now Adaptive's looking for number 2.
Ionic really low. He is gonna be able to dash away. Good damage put up by Heroin, making sure that his support is able to stay safe. I love that idea from Sino, though. That if he uses that ultimate to get towards his tower, Adapting chases him down anyways. Only way he buys enough time is by taking someone into the air.
Well, Ionic, a couple of hits from Death there. Has to be careful of the range. Yamin's really using with Toth right now. As Snoopy on the left-hand side will manage to pick up those oracles. No Gold Fury attempt so far from either team.
Snoopy's still waiting on trying to finish off that Transcendence. And Emilito's already got 40 stacks on his. Now Snoopy's got a tough choice. Is he trying to defend this purple or does he go to the wave? Emilito's doing a great job of just making Snoopy miss golden experience in that lane.
And the funny thing is he did have Whirlwind hovering around on that Soul from the mid lane, but he didn't want to make sure he got some farm in the jungle first of all, and then made sure he got back towards mid for this middle wave. Looking to hit level 12 right now is the mid laner and the jungler from Trifecta. They need those second relics to come online to really make a bigger impact in terms of defense as well as offense.
Sinosure is sitting 2 levels down from Adapting right now. He's already picked up his second relic. It's going to be the Blink. Camazot's with Blink. He's definitely a big burst of damage that a lot of players don't really expect It's not that blink CC that you're kind of used to with most junglers that like to blink in, kind of like Naja, the blink sash, the blink ultimate, blink Hunbat's all. Those are the first few that come to mind. But Camazotz just has such a long range that you can really blink in and play pretty aggressively and still be safe with use of your ultimate.
And you can see the difference between the two junglers as well. One Brawler's Beat Stick, one Jotun's Wrath. Big difference there, though. In the Brawler's Beat Stick, there's a little bit of sustain out of energy, but not too much. But the item's still very valuable.
I mean, you look at Emilito's got sustain built into that kit, Adapting has sustain built into that kit. It's also a dissuading factor to make sure that no one's building any bracers that it's going to get big value out of. We saw just how big those bracers could be if you have a Fred in the jungle.
Speaking of braces, you can see Kiki so cheeky has gone with the option on the Odin pickup here as well. And obviously with the ring, it does deny healing. So even if you did go for the bracer, that's going to cause you a couple of issues too if you get trapped inside that ring.
That's why I like the fact that NRG hasn't picked any up at this stage.
Gold Fury started by Trifecta here, and 3 members of NRG are hanging around against the 4 members of Trifecta. The catches him early by Rafa, good knock-up too. Good pressure coming out from NRG there, but the turnaround could be happening. But in the background, keeping on Adapting. He's swinging round, Rafa does fall, but there comes the bat round the back. Yannick gets blinked on and he's dead. Emilito's one hit, trying to live against Snoopy. Backup's there for him in terms of adapting, but it's not going to be enough. And in the end, it's Adapting on his own, having to run away.
Yemen's here, as is Dimmy, but it's a 2-for-1. Yannick thought he was out, but Adapting was at the enemy back harpies at the beginning of that engagement. Took a very aggressive path around. Now Kiki looking to put some extra damage onto Dimmy. Decent damage there onto the solo laner. Forces them into the Thorns.
Yeah, half health, and then Dimmy immediately pops the Thorns to try and dissuade the idea of them fully committed so we can hold the ultimate for the Gold Fury. Adapting round on the left-hand side right now, looking to try and turn up for this engagement once again. Trying to slow down Trifecta at doing that Gold Fury, which is so important at this stage of the game.
A Gold Fury here for Trifecta would have been massive. Energy keeping them off that objective is absolutely key as Kiki falls pretty low in that mid lane. Had already used the bracer, but it's not enough damage to knock him down. Level 14 already.
You can see the net worth on the left-hand side, I should say, between the two. Camazot's currently top of the charts, Adapting doing good work. And right behind him, Snoopy's still doing very, very good work, even though, you know, he fell behind a little bit early with those 2 deaths.
But now again, look at the power difference between him and Emilito. Emilito has a full Brawler's Beat Stick, and Snoopy's still stacking that Transcendence.
But Yannick still keeping the pressure on Emilito, trying to make sure Emilito is pinned back on his knees. Emilito is probably one of the most aggressive hunters in the world when you least expect him to be as well.
Always ready to take that fight at any given opportunity. And I think that's what makes him so good, is that he used to be a little bit too aggressive. He used to take some fights that he probably shouldn't have. His decision-making on when to fight has improved, but his mechanics are just as good, if not better, than they've ever been. And that's what's so impressive about his play.
Well, at 15 minutes in, it's not a real surprise to see both these teams kind of going at it, but staying relatively even just because of the fact it's the first game. In the best of 3s and best of 5s, you want to try and work out your opposition. And if you've not played against some of these players before, you want to learn their tells. If they've got any, just feel what they're going to play like. Are they going to be overly aggressive? Are they defensive? What do I need to know going into the rest of the set?
Yeah, I don't think Kiki's ever played against this NRG roster. Nope. Cynosure certainly hasn't. Heroin has whenever he was on SOAR at DreamHack 2016. I'm not sure about Yannick and Snoopy. I really don't think so. So Heroin probably the only one with experience against this tenured roster. And NRG is an animal. I mean, they have that aura around them, even when they aren't having as much success as they had in the past. When you're playing NRG, I feel like a lot of players realize they're playing NRG.
And same could be said for NRG, though. Like, they've not come up against Trifecta before. Most of these players are relatively new to them. So you learn play styles of the players. It makes it very tricky to know what the calls will be. The call right now for Trifecta is start the Gold Fury once again, and it's going down really quick.
But they let it go because of Yemen's charged ultimate. Emilito starting to wrap around the back. There's the pluck directly on the wrapper. Big ring toss from Cynosure, but it's Trifecta deciding to back up.
Because this is classic Rafa, though. He's not worried about getting himself in an awkward spot because he knows his team will follow up. If Rafa dies, the rest of the team can collapse. And that's why he was just so patient. Didn't use his Cataclysm there. Knew that if he was going to get real low, he would at least get it off before he died. It would also set Emilito up to potentially find a pick.
Snoopy and Emilito boxing it out on this side of the map. I mean, even despite the fact that Emilito has that Brawler's Beat Stick, Snoopy went for a cheap 3rd item to increase his boxing potential. And I love this decision out of Trifecta's Hunter. He's clearly fallen behind in the build. Never going to be able to catch up the way
Kiki just walks all the way over from the solo lane, finds Yamin, pumps him in a ring, but there's no backup from his team because they're doing the Gold Fury. It's going to go the way of Trifecta, giving them a nice gold lead, and it looks like they're going to be able to walk away without losing a life.
Kiki is pretty low, but adapting, not going to be able to finish him off. Great play there out of Trifecta. Excellent communication. It's a matter of what can NRG get on the backside of this.
But at the moment, it's going to be looking for the tier 1 tower in the mid lane. Seems to be the call right now. The Portal Demon is available for them to go to as well. Maybe they're going to go for the 1-2 combo. Tier 1 tower into Portal Demon. Can Trifecta get here in time to defend it?
Doesn't look like it. So NRG not only going to get the tier 1 in mid, the Portal Demon as well, and Trifecta's red buff, I believe, was dropped by them. So that's a pretty strong win for NRG, despite losing that Gold Fury. Plenty of experience in gold back their way.
But the gold is still in Trifecta's favor, as you can see, for the time being. Experience ever so slight energy, so still an even game as it stands. Red side, left-hand side, you can see the red buff being invaded now by Trifecta as well, giving that over to Horrywind, who has managed to catch up to Yaman in the mid lane now, both equal at level 14. The Hunters and the solo laners, both 16.
A lot of passive farming despite the 9 kills on the board. It's been kind of quick bursts off ganks, basically, that we've seen those kills really happen. And as you mentioned, Snoopy's able to catch up in that lane, and this is a time where if he's going to find the solo kill, it would be right around now. So Amelito decides he's going to head to that right-hand side and help Dimmy try and get another 500 gold.
And Kiki's trying to just pressure them back out because he sees the rotation coming from his teammates from the solo, so the support and jungle role rings in 2. Dimmy trapped inside as Amelito will immediately disengage with the backflip. Rafa now on his way, and as soon as Rafa shows his face with that Geb, Trifecta's gank potential dissipates.
But look at where Snoopy is. He's pushing that left-hand side. Don't be surprised if he just keeps on going, especially whenever adapting gets spotted out. I don't think Trifecta know that adapting's on the right side of the map, and Snoopy's just a little too scared to push up.
Very worried about where Kamazots could be. The pings are on where Yamin was from the mid lane there, so Snoopy's now going to go for the tier 1. NRG still trying to poke down this tower on the tier 1 on the right-hand side, however. This would be a trade overall with Yamin turning up. It's going to go down.
Very likely. Still standing. Finally, Amelito finishes it off as Snoopy does the same to the tier 1 and left. So 500 gold apiece across the board, but means Trifecta's Hunter is going to have to go a little bit farther to find his farm than he previously did. Amelito has to run farther away if he wants to stay safe.
Snoopy very smart here with the back just at the right time. There's a ward that just about spotted the rotation out of adapting to that left-hand lane and back to exactly the right time, so Kamazots couldn't find it and hit in the right place to manage to get the tier 1 tower and just continue to farm up to the late game and Moose and Cobb. We're looking forward to seeing.
Really strong in the late game, and we talk so much about AMC's laning phase and how dominant he is there, but his late game is phenomenal. I mean, that extra attack speed that you get from the highs is just crazy. It's like you have a constant health pot ticking with them around you as well. Brings plenty of damage. Just a matter of can he get the peel that's necessary, and it's very difficult to peel Osiris, and it's very difficult to peel Kamazots. So good luck to Trifecta if they want to save their Hunter's life.
Horrywind so far in the mid lane, pretty quiet as it stands, but 1-0-2, still, like I said, keeping pace with Yaman, as I said earlier on. Play damage on the low end for the time being, but the build is looking solid enough to put a lot out in the later stages, as well as with some survivability with that Bancroft's talent.
Soul is just very, very good in the early to mid game. She's not great. She's not going to put out crazy damage, but her clear is safe. She's safe. She can bring enough damage to your roster. In the late game is where Soul really starts to shine, though, not only in terms of player damage, with that objective burn. 4 members grouping up on the left-hand side for the red buff. The engage was actually from Amelito, putting some pressure on. Rafa committed with a Cataclysm there, but there's no real follow-up just yet from NRG. And the ultimate out of Horrywind, that knock-up, just going to prevent NRG from continuing the chase. Really good ultimate there from Horrywind. Saves Cynosure and himself and Ionic. Snoopy did have to use both relics there, and NRG definitely ending up on top in terms of map pressure and overall just relic usage on that last fight.
We talk about map pressure right now. NRG are really focusing down the towers as a group wherever they can. They sent Amelito to multiple lanes so far. They picked up the tier 1 tower in mid and the right-hand side. Now it's time of the left-hand side. Horrywind poked out a little bit as adapting, covering the option of Kiki trying to rotate in. But there's a nice punt from Ionic.
Oh, Amelito's already dead. Never even got a chance to use the Aegis. Trifecta continuing to push forward. Whirlwind gets put down by Dimmy after the great ult from Yaman.
But Dimmy could be next in trouble. Kiki gonna focus on him as Adapting now comes into the back line, keeping Trifecta honest and making sure his teammates get a chance to escape. But they try to support him and hung around. Now there could be more trouble.
Right back into Snoopy's hands. Ionic serves up his longtime hunter, a killing spree now for the B after those first 2 early deaths.
Oh, Yamin, bird bomb is good enough. It was a bird for a second, it's not anymore. Kiki, so cheeky, level 18, 2-0 and 5.
Dimmy still trying to make it happen here for NRG. Has the tether onto Ionic, but Snoopy's here. And Snoopy is shredding. Look at that damage out of the AMC. No ultimate here for Dimmy.
No thorns either.
Toast.
Trapped in a pit and goes down to Snoopy. Trifecta and that team fight have come up monumentally. The Gold Fury is available right now too. And with 3 members still set on energy, that's a big win yet again.
4-for-1 in Trifecta's favor. This Gold Fury is going to be huge at the 23-minute mark. That's going to give them a significant gold lead now, nearing 5,000 gold for the NA hopefuls, trying to take down the defending world champs.
Well, defending world champs, but they're not the defending land champs, I want to say, because obviously we saw the spring split end, and that wasn't the greatest for the Masters. And then coming into this tournament specifically, weren't seeded #1 from Europe.
No, it was Dignitas coming in as that top seed out of Europe. And then it was Obey as the 2nd seed. Energy was seed #3, and it took until the very last week to punch their ticket here to DreamHack. And they're just having some struggles here. That team fight was just so kind of disorganized from Energy. Emilito gets picked right off the bat. Never gets a chance to use his Aegis because of the well-timed ultimate out of Snoopy hitting before Emilito hit the ground. His purification beads were down, but you just can't put yourself in a position to get plucked whenever you don't have beads. I mean, Sobek has kind of fallen out of the meta, and I think people kind of forget how to play against him. Very easy to bait out that pluck and punish him. We saw that happen very often for Jelly whenever he was playing in the early console set. That time, Emilito just kind of baits his entire team into a bad team fight because he was standing in the wrong spot.
Not gonna lie though, Agro, Kiki is the standout for me right now for Trifecta. He is the one leading these engagements. The engagements are on his back pretty much every single time. And he's making a good play.
Gets the ultimate from Neath and blinked on by Adapting. Saves the purification beads, only used the Aegis. Earlier on, Snoopy was using both relics in response to that World Weaver. Now deciding he only needs to use one, looking much more comfortable, and now you got an ult and a relic in exchange for one of your own.
And that seems to be the plan, is have Emilito potentially become that jungler who goes to the mid lane now and have Adapting free roam, play this Camazot's being a sneaky little bar, being able to rotate around and not keep vision on him at all.
And that is very effective, but you gotta have that World Weaver up if you want to have that game plan work. And Emilito hasn't gone for any cooldown reduction. A lot of penetration in that build between the Brawler's Beatstick and whatever that heavy mace is going to be. Good attack speed with the Odysseus bow as well. Going to spread that big damage from the Transcendence around in the team fight. But no CDR, so you got to wait a little bit longer for that World Weaver to come up and ready.
Still a tight game between the two, but it's a 5K gold lead for Trifecta right now, and that's a great position for them to be in as it stands. We did say that both these teams do like to go towards the late game if they want to. EU's very well known for that in the league overall, but Trifecta is probably the most consistent at doing it in North America.
Look at what Snoopy's building. He built Frostbound Hammer in that 5th item slot.
Perma-slows.
Yeah, he's getting as many slows as he can, getting HP for himself as well, and now going what's probably going to be a Blood Forge for just a big burst of power. Snoopy's been playing a lot of Joust. That's what Phil's telling me. Yeah.
Joust build that one?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how this Joust build works out, because so far he's got all the kills in his team. Well, most of the kills, I should say, are 4 of them, whereas it's up against Adapting. I think that's the key, is trying to keep Snoopy shut down. But for me, it's been Kiki to set him up. Rattling mid, Cataclysms, has to try and defend himself, but still dead. Great little play from Trifecta. Now the tier 1 tower's at fault.
And it's gonna go, no chance to defend that one. 500 more gold in Trifecta's pocket. What's a Geb gonna do when he's slowed down by Frostbound autos and guaranteed the pluck for Ionic?
Dimmy's next on the list. He thorns early, the pluck misses. Sashing from Sino. He ults in, does Dimmy, because Adapting was round the back like a bat out of hell to the rescue. And Yamin and Emilito flanking from the sides, push Trifecta back, as Trifecta had an opportunity for 2 kills there.
But Snoopy gets bursted before he has a chance to respond. Still didn't have the Aegis, and that ult over the wall from Yamin was absolutely beautiful. No way to peel that. I mean, you just gotta kind of hold it and hope that Yamin misses. but he's Yemen, so he doesn't. And that's exactly what NRG decide they want to do from here on out. Focus down Snoopy. Clearly see how much of a problem he's been. He's top of the team in his player damage. 5 of Trifecta's 9 kills are underneath his belt. It's the first death he's taken since the very early stages of the game. And that works out well then for NRG to try and slow him down just a little bit more, but already at level 20, nearing a full build anyway, it's not going to be as impactful as you can imagine because it's still going to be AMC. Very true, but that Bloodforge is a big final item, so it's going to take him a little bit longer to finish that off. So getting that death and making sure that he's going to have to respawn, find the farm, and then back again does give NRG a pretty solid opportunity to take these next few fights before Snoopy finishes off that big power item. Well, the next fight will be around the Gold Fury more than likely, which is about to spawn in 20 seconds time. Straight after the last Gold Fury, you did see Trifecta get the Portal Demon too, just to exacerbate that lead a little bit longer as well, a little bit further ahead for themselves. And this one is definitely key, because if Trifecta get this Gold Fury, that is a window where they are in full control of this game now. If NRG get it, we're almost back to even once more. Exactly. And one team could really even potentially go for a Portal Demon or a Fire Giant while the other is going for the Gold Fury. As long as you're able to secure one of those, really could keep this game fairly, at least close to where it is. But you're right, Trifecta's got a great composition for burning down these objectives. Yannick has a Frenzy, which makes it even better for that. And these can go down very quickly. Well, that's a big key for him as well, is how much of an investment you put to the Gold Fury when Fire Giant is available. Dimmy's over here, keeping an eye on 4 targets, and he's one of them furthest forward because Rafa has been focused every time he's tried to take a step forward so far. With his shell on cooldown, there's not a lot he can do. This Gold Fury is dropping quick, however, but they've got to respect the potential ult combo. No, not enough Trifecta to get the Gold Fury, but Hurricane and Snoopy in trouble. Very low, but the ultimate's on a Snoopy and not on a Hurricane. That would have gotten a kill for NRG, but instead, the focus onto the B is just too strong. Hurricane's able to escape. Snoopy is as well. Trifecta get out with the Gold Fury scot-free. I tell you what, a lot of people's opinions about North America is they're going to get whitewashed by Europe today, but looking at this so far, Trifecta are looking fantastic. And if you would have told everyone on Reddit and everyone who thinks that NA is going to get whitewashed, that Trifecta would have picked AMC in game number 1, they would have hyper-lulled you right into the grave. But they've looked really strong with this AMC. Even with the horrible start that Snoopy got off to, clearly just a lot of trust in this team into Snoopy and into the rest of the squad to make sure that even with a horrible start like that, this pick's going to work out. Portal Demon pulled once again by Trifecta here. NRG with a better response of more members around this Portal Demon. And MOBA going to unleash it back towards his side of the map. Kiki around the back, however, is already waiting as Sanishore blinks in, looking for a perfect sash, didn't really find it. Melito backflips away. Yamin focused down, but gets a big ult off into Hurricane. And Adapting could claim his life with one more auto. But that Disapparate's doing work. Hurricane's going to put a little bit of damage on that. Bought enough time for Snoopy to find the double kill. Sinosure is still on the run, just kiting everyone from NRG. And he turns around towards Adapting, and the fight is on. 3v1, Adapting gets one, and the Cataclysm from Rafa bought enough of a window for Adapting to run away. The leap will heal him a little bit more, and Kiki cannot get the kill. But Snoopy is gonna find another one. That's 3 in this team fight for Snoopy, and the focus was on him in that mid game. Everyone kind of forgot about him now that we've hit 30 minutes. And Snoopy trying to remind him, you gotta check this B. Trust me, when these guys press tab and see 8-3-1, they're gonna remember that they have to be careful of the Amusan Cob. Trifecta, however, gonna start the Portal Demon in the ring from Kiki, just to deny the option of any sort of shenanigans coming out from NRG Esports. Love it, just putting down that extra insurance that Portal Demon's gonna go your way. Kiki has enough CDR in that build that he's not worried about the cooldown. Odin Cage on a very low cooldown as is. When you factor in the 30% CDR that he's got in that build, no worries about that. Trifecta, get the Portal Demon, and that could have been much worse for NRG. If Sinosure is able to find a little bit of extra damage there onto Adapting, maybe auto-cancel with a Flaming Spear or a Ring Bounce. I don't think he had either available, unfortunately, for Trifecta. That was a big play out of Adapting to make sure that didn't go even worse for his team. I'm so impressed by how Trifecta's playing because of their LAN status as well. When you think about some of these kids from them, they've had a couple of issues in the past with LAN issues where they've not performed to the standard they've been expected to or struggled in the LAN setting. They look very comfortable here. They're playing to the game plan, and it's working out as time goes on. That's true. I mean, you look at basically all these players except for Sinosure have had a bad LAN where no one's really expecting them to do so.
Dimmy ults in, didn't really find a target he was after, but the Thorns is caused a couple of problems. Snoopy and Haruin are definitely the focus from NRG if they can find them, so position is going to be key. Snoopy, however, doesn't care anymore with the honey coming through. He's shrekking Rafa, and once again, Geb is dead.
Haruin gonna get credit for that one. Sino took someone up into the sky, and Emilito's very low, finds the root onto Haruin inside that cage, but he's forced to retreat as well.
Look at the health bars of NRG, and look at the health bars of Trifecta as they find another kill onto Dimmy. 2 members dead, tier 1 tower.
Frostbound Hammer has been the key for Snoopy in this team fight. He locks down Rapper with the slows. He locks down Dimmy with the slows. No one can get away from this Hunter, and AMC is gonna be doing that damage if you're right in front of him. Now Trifecta going for the Fire Giant. They're gonna be able to secure it. The first FG of the game goes to North America.
Well, the ultimate from Yamin catches Snoopy and Neonic, and Aptin cleans up Sinosure, but he's still Trifecta's way when you think they still have the Fire Giant.
Huge play there out of Yemen. Emilito's gotta try and survive, but he won't be able to do so. Kiki is 3-0-12, been a part of 15 of Trifecta's 16 kills here in this game. So overall, yes, Trifecta get the Fire Giant. They lose Snoopy and Sinosure, but Haruin still has that buff, and that is absolutely key. Usually when you lose your Hunter's Fire Giant, you're like, then it's not that important. But the objective shred from Haruin is going to be there with this buff.
And not just that, the Stellar Burst zone control that you can get from that is so useful, as well as the ultimate, the Supernova coming into play, can really buy a window for the team to either reset or engage at a time when you don't expect them to.
Exactly, just extra power for that mid lane mage. We said, Soul pretty good throughout all stages of the game. It really shines in the late game. Well, we're here. We're 33, 34 minutes in. Haruin is just waiting to finish off that Fatalis, and I love this selection as the 6th item. It's got enough damage in that build already for me. I think that just the extra survivability and of course a little bit of extra pen, just make a little bit of extra kite ability as well, gives him enough to try and stay alive and just put out damage, because much like Hunters, Soul can just survive and just do enough damage with their autos to be a big focus in these team fights.
Well, this Golf Fury going down as well. Trifecta in a very comfortable position in game 1 so far. They're up about 1,300 gold, 13,000 gold in the lead, I should say, against the reigning World Championship NRG Esports. 16-11, and they're looking so strong here. And once again, Kiki just happy to just look for pressure time and time again. Force Phantoms, force Ultimates potentially as well.
But that time, that cage was a little bit off the mark. You only caught 2 members. It was Emilito, who's got the backflip to get out of that cage. And it was Dimmy, who already had his ethereal form up, so he can just walk right out of that player-made wall. A little bit unfortunate, but again, low cooldown on that.
Keep an eye on Rafa, blinking in, Cataclysm on 3. Dimmy commits at the same time too. Great Supernova out. Haruin will buy enough of a window for Trifecta to reset. The World Weaver hits and adapting. Clean up crew on aisle 3, but Snoopy denies the back take into the sky.
Very quick damage there out of Snoopy, and now it's Trifecta starting to push forward again. Frenzy pop.
Dimmy's dead.
Dimmy doing his best, but he's on the front side, nowhere for him to go.
Shield comes out from Rafa to buy him a window, and they're trying to let Yamin poke from the back if possible, because the health bars of Snoopy and Nick are so low, but they are sustaining as time goes on.
Kiki not gonna jump into that tier 2. Wise decision there, even with Emilito having already expended his Aegis, because Trifecta is playing this safe. They get the tier 2 tower, another 1,500 gold for them. It's more about wiping out these towers and making sure that Titan room for NRG is as vulnerable as possible before going for that final push.
When you think about how this game went as well, the tier 1 towers actually went into NRG's favor earlier on. But since then, Trifecta have played the objective game better than NRG, better than the Europeans, which a lot of people were saying that's where the European strength was.
Trifecta has just looked so good as a unit. I mean, you look at Sinosure's scoreline and you might say, oh, he hasn't had a very good game at 1, 5, and 9, and he's not that much higher than Ionic on the player damage, but Sinosure's map pressure has been solid enough. He made sure that he was keeping adapting on the right-hand side as much as possible early on. Yes, adapting did sneak away and find 2 early kills onto Snoopy, but Sino's had a solid enough game for me. Obviously, the guy everyone's going to be talking about is Snoopy. As you mentioned, Kiki has looked phenomenal as well. Haruin has looked really, really good. Ionic's been on point with the majority of his plucks. All of Trifecta is playing at a very high level.
And they're just going to continue that through this game 1. They're just trying to close this one out in game 1. It's a best of 3 against NRG, so they still need to find another one after this. If they do, take this first game, but it is NRG, and they're very good at just holding on in games and waiting for just one opportunity to get themselves back into it. The longer the game goes, Aggro, the longer the respawn time has become.
Without a doubt, this is a team that has had their backs against the wall more times than they could probably count, and they
won more
end up
games
coming back
that way too.
Yep.
Then many teams have had this same situation against them.
They win more games when down by 1 million gold than most teams win in a split. I mean, that's just how confident they are in these sorts of scenarios.
Well, this next Fire Giant spawning is very, very important, and that's why Trifecta are on zone duty now. Trying to use Kiki and Ionic to potentially set somebody up for Hurryman and Snoopy to make them disappear very quickly before the fight even begins.
Emelito was thinking about split pushing down that mid lane and is still there for the time being, but flirting around that left side jungle, making sure he has an escape route.
And this is what NRG do very well. They try and split the map up. If they're losing the fights and they can't take you on straight up in a 5v5, they'll try and play the map a little bit better. Force you to come and defend the tier 2 tower. Force you to make sure you come and pick up your red buff or have it stripped away instead.
And that is going to be the way it goes. Emelito, he'll pick that one up. Trifecta, their portal demon already ran out. Very just baiting. They're trying to bait energy in to this Fire Giant pit. Ionic looking for the pluck, not going to find it on Dimmy.
And this is benefiting, if anybody, NRG, because Trifecta can't commit to the Fire Giant, which this should be trying to do, I feel, here. Especially when you see Emelito hanging around the left-hand side of the map. They should be trying to commit force energy to fight them because they've been winning every single fight.
But NRG's just not taking the bait. I mean, look how far back Yemen is, adapting as
Dimmy,
well.
that could cause the disaster to unfold early, but Raph is going to get the shield off onto Dimmy. Dimmy's still pressured because of the honey coming out as well, and Snoopy's Frostbound Hammer is allowing the honey to continue. The slow effect is going to allow so much more.
Thorns used there by Dimmy, and that was about it. Now Emelito's in a bad spot. Kiki's gonna find him. That cage is coming down, and Saito's right behind him.
But will they be able to kill him in time? Yamin's in the mid lane looking for the supernovas, a bit of damage, I should say, onto Snoop, and he does hit. Adapting needs one more, but if he commits, he'll fall down 2. Sidesteps the sash and gets away just in time thanks to the shield from Rafa from the incoming demise that Hurryman was trying to bring him.
And Emelito that time just stayed a little bit too long. As you mentioned, Trifecta had to do something there, and I feel like that was the most obvious answer. Just go to where Emelito is. It's Neith. She's very punishable on that backflip, and Kiki did his job perfectly.
In any given scenario, I'd be like, this game's done. I know he's got this one in the bag, but it's energy. And I'm like, you can't count them out every single time.
Ever. You can never count them out, but it's looking pretty good for Trifecta right now as they try and get their second Fire Giant of the game. Just Hurwin and Ionic going at it. And you can already see how much damage that Soul is doing.
I think they're giving this one up by the looks of it.
I think so too.
But you can see on the left-hand side that Adaption's just doing the purple buff. So 3 Fire Giant for Trifecta and only 1 tier 2 tower remaining.
That's on the right-hand side, so it's very easy to just march up that right side jungle as soon as you get the Fire Giant and knock down that extra 1,500 gold. It's exactly what Trifecta is going for now. It's just a matter of do they want to siege that right side Phoenix, do they want to back and buy. Snoopy just bought. Maybe Hurwin wants to sell Dynasty Plate Helm and pick up another power item, but it's probably got enough as is. Trifecta could just try and end the game right here.
They really could, and there's not much really standing in their way right now. With a Sol, with an AMC on tower push, with a Fire Giant buff, even if the engagement is good, they don't just ignore it. Dimmy pumped in, gets the tether off on 3, gonna force Snoopy back just a little bit for a minute. Mid lane though, Kiki's gonna start wading away on that middle Phoenix, causing a distraction, which is allowing a bit more pressure on the right once more.
Only gonna take a moment between an AMC and a Soul to knock down a Phoenix. There goes the fight on the right-hand side, falling very low is Snoopy, excuse me, and he's already dead.
Emelito's in trouble on the back of the side of things as well. Hurrywin will get away as Kiki will pick up Emelito and walk away to live again. Emelito, however, did manage to pick up Sider Shot towards the end there. Guessing that's the World Weaver just after death, just as he died.
Really close there, Trifecta. The good engagement there from Raffer and the rest of NRG, the Blink Cataclysm. Snoopy died before he could get his Aegis off. That's always a tough scenario because AMC really relies on getting away from that big burst of damage and then trying to lifesteal through the rest with that Blood Forge. Wasn't able to do so this time around. Yamin and Raffer combined for a good kill on the right side.
2 for 1, very important there, especially when you think about the fact Trifecta had the Fire Giant. All 3 Phoenixes stay standing, and right now NRG get a chance to pick up the Pole Demon as well. Just a little bit more golden experience. It's not really important, but it is a way to get across the map. And at this stage, that's where the Portal Demon shines. Not the gold, not the experience, the extra mobility and the coverage of the map.
Just also making sure that Trifecta doesn't have that extra mobility in this sort of scenario, trying to make sure that they can't push down a mid Phoenix, then back and try and get to the right one real quick with that portal demon. Sinosure is about to respawn, as is Emilito. So we're back to a full strength 5-on-5. Fire Giants still on the members of Trifecta for quite some time though, about a minute and a half for Hero and Ionic and Kiki.
And this will be another patient player then, because what you'll see is NRG just hold on to what they've got for the time being. Gold Fury is available. Yes, Kiki's a little bit far forward on this left-hand side on his own. I'm a little bit concerned that if NRG recognized he was all alone, he could get picked up very quickly, but he's just got the confidence in him. So look at him. Wow. He's on his own. That's a man right there. That's the world champions.
He knows that he can just do this all he wants. In fact, he continues to push forward as the rest of his team now starting to get up and close enough to support. Was looking to find the cage on the Raffer there, I think, but it's a little bit too slow.
Just almost perfect there from Kiki, because NRG were like, can we kill him? And they were just having the discussion about, can we kill him? And that just as I think we were committing to it or thinking about it the right way, that's when Trifecta turned up. A second or two later, Kiki could have worked out that so well for the team.
Very close there, but now Trifecta still trying to make the most out of this Fire Giant. About 40 seconds left on the buff before it goes away. Try to make sure that they can push down this left side.
And now we're going to see the fight engage. Yaman's chopped in the ring on the right, keeping him out of the fight, potentially for the most part. Emilito was taken up by Sinosure. He's forced back towards the fountain. Is adapting. Is deleted once again by the Beast Snoopy. Dimmy now won a couple of hits from Death as well, forced back to the fountain. First Phoenix of the game goes to Trifecta, and now they're looking for the middle one.
I don't think they're going to slow down on these Phoenixes either. I mean, it's a 5v4. Fire Giant's still there. Trifecta going to find the second one, but Herwind is poked out pretty heavily.
Little risky?
Little bit, but Snoopy's still completely healthy, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to get close to him. Frenzy was available for Ionic just in case as well.
And they're going to will fall back after getting all three Phoenixes. Trifecta are looking so good right now. This is very difficult to come back from. And I was going to say, you can't come back from this, but I have seen it happen, and it was at a LAN, and it was a European team. So
it could,
there's chances.
It could happen, but more than likely, Trifecta looks like they're going to come away with the victory here in game one. But
what was it that went wrong for NRG here? What was it? Was it the surprise of the AMC, or is it just Kiki? For me, I feel Kiki.
Kiki was a big factor. I think that it was just this draft from Trifecta was really well crafted. You've got two main hyper carries here between the Soul and the AMC. Naja's going to take one person out of the fight, so then you already have to chase down two members with four. Very difficult to do that. And then Kiki's going to wall off a couple people with that cage, so you have a very limited number of people chasing down these two hyper carries. Difficult to hit both, and they've done a good job of avoiding Yaman's ultimates. That's been the big reason why NRG has stayed in some of these fights, has been that final judgment. I love Herowin's item choice here. Selling that Dynasty Plate Helm for Stone of Fall. Finally, someone picks this up against a Burst Mage. Now Herowin just cannot get one-shot by Final Judgment. It can only do 30% of his HP at any given time. That is huge. You lose that fear of instantly losing a fight.
Kiki gonna go straight in towards Dimmy once again. Dimmy trying to be on the forefront. Will Weaver hits onto Horrorwind, forcing him back and getting it to separate too. Dimmy commits again with the Lord of the Afterlife and still trying to catch Horrorwind. Adapting comes in and takes him out. Snoopy could be next to the list. Snoopy's dead too. The world champs are back. Cataclysm onto Kiki. Knocked up in the air. And that was a great play from NRG for the base aggro. The base, they've got to go back.
Have to. That's the problem. When you lose all three Phoenixes, even if you win the team fight, you have to be worried about what damage your base is taking. Titan took about 15% of its health there, so all of NRG back up.
The game goes on because the next 50 seconds, the two carries at Trifecta, the two real damage dealers on the squad, are not going to be available, which means that they can't realistically look to end. It's going to buy NRG enough time to potentially get these Phoenixes back to a state of repair.
Kiki has bought a 3K pot. He went for the 3K defense pot. I like that decision coming out of him. You're not going to get a whole lot of mileage out of a 3K power pot. Sid is trying to be that front line as well as he has all game long. I'm excited to see how much damage he's taking because I'll bet you it is a lot. He's the only player in the game to have not died so far.
I'll tell you what, though, Aggro, with the state of the game so far, my voice is going to go on day one. I can feel it because these are going to be long games. This is anything to tell how EU versus NA is going to be across the rest of this tournament.
Wouldn't be surprised because I think that NA's playstyle might surprise some EU teams. Trifecta's playstyle a little bit more EU-like than the other NA squads, but you can already see some of the success they've had so far.
Kiki, just no fear on this left-hand side. Meanwhile, the right-hand side, NRG looking for a cheeky pole demon. Will manage to get it for themselves, and once again, we mentioned it's more to deny Trifecta having that opportunity and a chance for adapting to potentially flank around the back with this Camazotz.
Speaking of flank around the back, Kiki's got an opportunity here to do just that. So he pushes up this mid-wave. The rest of Trifecta's here. Here comes Kiki looking for a cage potentially. Not gonna find it though. In fact, it's quite a bit of damage in return.
Yeah, it took up quite a nice little chunk there. It's middle Phoenix left and the right all coming up. It's left first of all, because you remember they went left, middle, all the way to the right, and so that's why you see Trifecta heading there as a group. Weakened Phoenixes only respawn with less health, and obviously it gives a bit of an easier chance for them to take them down for a second time. With fire minions pouring on the right-hand side, and the middle lane still too, with left-hand side being all Trifecta, could be an issue.
There's the Blink Cataclysm for Raffer, but it's only onto Ionic. Not gonna find the big play that time around. Dimmy misses the ultimate, forces out Hurwins in return though, as Sinosure is all the way in the backside, forcing out Yemen. Blink forward from adapting, trying to chase down Snoopy.
And Snoopy's gonna get away for the time being. There's only one more hit though. Great stun from Sinosure, but the world champion jungler will take him down. However, now NRG lost Camazotz. Snoopy's down for Trifecta. Can Trifecta still end?
Ionic looking to just tank up this Phoenix. They gotta worry about those Phoenixes before they worry about the end. Hurwin gonna get in there and finally get it done. Yemen just barely missing that final judgment.
Yannick misses the block, and that'll allow Dimmy to survive for the time being. Keep an eye on Kiki's health. He's only one hit from death there. He will be able to teleport back in momentarily. So this middle Phoenix tanked up by Hurwin. Nicely done there. Gets two Phoenixes, and the third one, well, the right went down to the minions on its own, and Kiki's back in the fray once more.
Almost has his cage back up and ready to go. And with that backflip being used by Emilito, don't be surprised if Kiki starts looking for the Hunter, at least for the next few seconds. Still sitting in that mid lane, not committing to that right side because the fire minions already took care of that right side of Phoenix. Trifecta looks like they want to try and end it here.
They might just push all the way, and Kiki's going to do just that. Dives into the whole squad of energy. Emilito's one hit from death, backflips to safety. But the Titan is a different story. North America claims first blood.